What's up, book club? Can you read or not? We about to start our show. We're discussing the No Woman No Cry book by Rita Marley, which was Bob Marley's wife. We're gonna get into these first five chapters. Join. We gotta hurry up and come up with a name for this group, Sean. Because I swear to God, it's so many times I be wanting to say curvesters. What's up, Sean?
Hey,
How's it
how you
going?
doing?
I'm doing good. How was your day? Y'all, Shonda Gossip's birthday was yesterday, so happy belated birthday to her. But she was out and about. How was your day?
I was good. I had a good old time, girl. Got some gifts, but more importantly, spent time with my family. I had a good
Okay,
time. I was happy
that's
to be there. It
good.
was really nice.
What was on the menu? That's what I want to know.
Girl, we had went to this Mexican restaurant called Nymphas.
Memphis. I never heard of that. Memphis.
It
What
might
they
be a
serve?
local restaurant.
Okay.
Mexican food like enchiladas. They got like steak and shrimp, with a Mexican twist. It's Tex Mex, is what they call it.
Okay.
In Texas, we got our own version of Mexican food. So, girl, that's what we ate. I had some enchiladas.
Okay. That sound good. Sound good. That's
Mhm.
what's up. We got Michelle Shantae on deck. What up,
Hey,
though?
Michelle.
I know she said
Hey,
she
Shonda.
getting you
Yeah,
getting
because
the baby together.
the bear trying to go off, and I was cooking dinner, and he like, nope, you ain't cooking dinner no more. Damn that, okay,
Well,
Oh
Demir won't
wow.
let you do nothing.
girl,
He be like,
Oh,
you ain't doing nothing.
you ain't never lied.
oh God. God. All right, let's see who I know a lot of people hasn't started to join yet. Let me go ahead and just do a quick I did make a post on the curb. Y'all, I'm telling y'all we have to hurry up and make a come up with a name for this cuz I can't keep saying what up though. Can you read an all group like this guy? I need a little catchy one name phrase. This is getting ridiculous. Ridiculous. You heard?
I get it.
Are y'all ready for this discussion? Y'all read the first five chapters?
Oh yeah, girl, I read it. It's a good book. I like it.
You like it so far? You Shantae, you like it so far? Oh, she must have stepped away right quick. Let me
Yes,
see.
I love the book.
Oh,
So I'm a Bob Marley and all things Bob Marley fan. I'm also a Rita Marley fan. Rita, oh goodness, I'll wait till we get started.
okay.
Oh
Because I would have
well.
started talking about the book and talking about her background and her upbringing and stuff like that. So I don't want to get ahead of everybody.
Well, I will say it's a little slow for me, but I'm still pushing through. I did read my first five chapters. I'm on chapter six. I started reading chapter six last night just so I could kind of get a good head start on it. So yeah, we
You
got
know
we.
what? It
Huh.
did start slow to me, but I did get sucked in with like chapter 4 and 5. I think I done probably went up to chapter 8. I was like, oh, this getting juicy now.
It's
Hold
getting
on.
better. Yes, when
Yeah.
I got to around the same mark as you, because y'all know I've been taking notes so that we can, kind of go over it a little bit thoroughly. I do,
Hmm.
like I try to delegate like at least an hour, for us to go over because it's only five chapters, and again, I mean, well, it's five chapters that we're going over, but it's only 15 chapters in the book, so it's not going to be a long read. So I was like, hoping we start getting to the juicy parts a little bit quicker. I'm telling you, that doggone Ashley YouTube page had me just in my feelings because she was just giving us all the tea of what had been happening, which I know that she's gonna put in the book. We're gonna get there, but she's just leading up to it. Let's start off with
Hmm.
the beginning parts of it anyway. So the first two chapters was really about her upbringing in Trenchtown and how she was singing at this at the studio, which is actually where she met Bob Marley there at the studio. Let me see if I wrote down the name. Unless y'all remember the name of the studio offhand, it's something with a C.
Oh, the owner of it, I guess, was named Coxon,
Yeah,
Ko. I
Coxon
mean
Studio.
Coxson, but
Hmm.
I think it was called Studio One, I believe.
Studio One Coxon. Yep, it was brought.
Mm.
Okay, yep. So I was just calling it the Coxon Studio because I couldn't believe that was his name.
Lord, we so immature. Grow up.
I can't help it. Why do I do stuff like that? This is why I tell y'all I need nicknames for stuff. This is exactly why.
Oh
But
gosh.
she does talk about how poor she was, and she was staying with her aunt. Um, and her aunt was a doozy. Oh my god, her aunt was making me mad as I don't know what, y'all.
Why was her aunt making you mad?
I mean, I know that okay, so she was a teenager at the time. She already had one child, and according to what she was saying in the book, that's frowned upon.
Right.
Because back then in the day, if you were damaged goods, basically. If you were
Right.
already, she was a teenager, she already was had a kid and stuff like that, and nobody would look at her as a prospect if they wanted to have a relationship. You know what I'm saying, with that person. But
Right.
and so her aunt was a little bit strict because she felt like she wasn't doing her part um as making money. So, and I don't know, maybe Michelle could tell us something like that because she has, she got the Jamaican background. But basically, they groom you to make money. You know what I'm saying? Like they tell you, basically you got to be a hustler out here because Trench Town is for like the trenches. It's like the hood of the hood, and only the fittest will survive. That's what I was getting from how.
Did that, and I kind of feel like her aunt um just felt the way about having to take care of Rita anyway, right? Because her mom abandoned her. She was
Mhm.
living with her father, and ultimately ended up with her aunt. So
Okay,
she
yeah,
was an orphan. You know what I mean? So
right.
it was kind of like how a lot of families do. You take in a child to avoid them being put in a system, and
Yeah, I don't.
You're
Yeah.
not doing it out of love. You're doing it out of obligation.
Well, I feel like her aunt was trying to prepare her for the real world. That's it. Don't keep popping out all these damn babies. You are gonna need money to take care of yourself. I think those were real life lessons she was trying to teach her.
Yeah, she didn't start getting to me until till after Rita met Marley. That's when it started. Like she started working my nerve about situations, and then especially after they got married and stuff like that. But um, if I'm not mistaken, I don't recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't recall Rita saying why her mom was never in the picture. Did she say? Because I know that she still communicated with her dad, but he was living somewhere else in another part of town and he had a whole nother family. So did she give us the breakdown on the mom? Because I don't remember.
No, her mother is who moved to a different town and had a whole nother family. The daddy moved. The daddy was there. Then he decided to immigrate to England to try to, I guess, get a good job. And he was supposed to be sending for Rita, which never happened. But her mother just ran off and got married and started a whole new life.
And that was really the real connection between her and Bob, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
They started once she started coming to the studio and she finally met Bob. That's what they had the connection on. They had started talking about family, and that was the same thing, similar to what happened with Bob and his mom. She ran off and basically left him as an orphan.
Girl,
um
she left him with his stepdaddy who was over there treating
oh,
him like a slave.
like a slave. I was like, oh my god, that is terrible. um
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the connection that brought the two together, which I thought that was pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? Because it seemed like they had a similar background with everything. And she did say in the book that she didn't tell him right away that she had a child, but that the way that he found out was that it was time for feeding and her breast started leaking.
Right.
And he
Yeah,
was like,
I
what do you
mean,
say? Well, why not, girl? I wish I could. I wish I could talk patois. I was sure saying the way she made it seem like he said it in the book, even though she's not talking a lot of patois in the book. But I could just hear him saying to him now. But basically, she was like, "What's wrong with the titty or something?" And I just bust out laughing like,
well, he talking about you. He would tell her, you need to get home and get baby titty. I was like, oh.
"Yes, yes." So
Mm-hmm.
that's when he found out that she had a baby. Um, which it didn't seem to deter him because he found a smitten towards her. After singing together for a little bit of time and them being around each other at the studio so often. But that's when the mom start. I mean, not the mom, but the aunt, Rita's aunt, started to be like, what's going on? Because she was always at the studio. She was barely at home trying to take care of her daughter. And she was saying, that was the way for her to make the money.
Right. I mean, look, I get her aunt being worried. You think about an 18-year-old living with you. I already got a baby. And then next thing you know, she pop up with a man. That would be my first thought. Don't you take your ass down there getting pregnant again. You already got a baby. No.
Right.
And we
Right.
broke.
Yeah, that's true. I
I think
mean,
her aunt was just really looking out for her.
yeah, and I'm not
But,
saying that she wasn't. You know what I'm saying? I just after is when it started to be more of a situation for me because at this point in time, um now you need to just play your part because she's no longer in your house like that. So I don't know. We'll get to that part. I don't really want to jump ahead. Shante, did you have something you wanted to add into? Because I know you got booted out. I don't know what you were able to hear or not. She might be done stepped away. All right. Well, let's go to because I made a few markings and stuff to kind of help remember what I need to talk about because on page 18 they were talking about how her group formed and Rita and Marley like started going to that first step. So let me see if I can say they said that they formally formed a group that consisted of Dream herself and Marlene, who would leave school in the evenings to come to Trenchtown and rehearse, and whose parents thought this was the worst ambition. So nobody really took a liking to them doing this music thing. That was a whole thing, I guess, with them across the board. And she said that they didn't to leave high school to go to Trenchtown to be with those kinds of people, the tough guys, the killers, and the thieves.
oh,
So yeah, girl, I done heard a few stories about Trenchtown. Trenchtown's supposed to be like what we consider Chicago to be. Shy.
yeah.
That's what they saying Trenchtown is like. It's like the ghetto or the ghetto. The only the fittest will survive. Like she was even telling Marley during one point in time that she didn't want him walking back to to the studios and stuff at night because he would walk her home. Yeah, like the Carter in New Jack City. You right, Shantae. Yep, just like that. Like basically, it was a no. You know what I'm saying? They didn't want none of them to be going through those types of situations. It was unsafe and they didn't want them wanting Rita to be, out in the streets like that or Bob either, because hell, they was doing whatever. They also started to say that they were singing a backup for the Wailers, which was the group that Barb was part of at the time. So
Mm-hmm.
the Wailers and they ended up having something the owner of that Studio One wanted to have like a whole Motown. He said it was like the Motown of Jamaica. So
Yeah.
how in Motown they had, they would have like Diana Ross and the Supremes, they would have Stevie Wonder, they would have, you know, Who else was like a big part of the beginning? Oh, you can't forget Smokey and the Miracles. You can't forget my daddy.
Oh yeah, definitely can't forget about Papa.
UK, UK. So, just how they had a whole bunch of different groups, a whole bunch of individual singers, Marvin Gaye, et cetera, all up under the umbrella. And that's what she said that Coxstone was trying to do for his artists, was to put all of them up under the umbrella. So all of them would sing, like they started a group called the Solettes, which consisted of her. That's what was the name of the group. And then they would all sing backup for the Wailers, and then they started to do a little tour once the Wailers started to get a little bit more popular around there. They started doing backup stuff for them.
Right.
So yeah, so that was pretty much like the beginning part of the book. I don't think I've left out any of that part. I got little snippets here. Let me go to the next page because it started to get really heavy between Barb and Rita. They started spending more time at the studio. She was staying more late at the studios with them, and just really focusing on doing this music. She said they was always gazing into each other's eyes and having these deep conversations, and always singing. They were always singing and coming up with different stuff. And he would be like trying to incorporate her to come up with ideas. So he started kind of delegating stuff to her early on in the beginning. Um okay. So then things started to take a turn because I think they started doing stuff at the Jamaican dance hall, which is called the nightclubs. They said on page 22, the Jamaican dance hall has been called nightclubs, news medium, gathering place, church, theater, and the schoolhouse all rolled into one. Contemporary Jamaican pop music is known as dance hall. A dance hall could actually happen anywhere, indoors or out. Sometimes a crowd got together in the building, but just as often the place would be a yard or a field or a parking lot. And that's where either live music or DJ playing the records would be doing the entertainment stuff. And they would have people come out perform. So you remember how we used to have back in the day when we would have the beat streets in New York and stuff like that, where people would come and they would go to the schoolyard and the DJ would set up his stuff and they would have battle raps or they would have a dance off or something like that. That's what that reminded me of, like the Jamaican dance hall. It was just like a whole bunch of gatherings and stuff and doing different stuff at the same place,
Yep.
whatever it was.
That's what it sounded like. I was out
So
there partying, girl.
they was partying, but from what Rita was saying, like she wasn't really into that. And once some of the group members was starting to go there, they would, like talk her into going. And that's how she ended up experiencing. Shantae said, "Yep, it was some type of vibe." Okay, I got you. You listen in the background. I got you, boo. They would have some kind of type of vibe with that, and she was like so into it when she finally was able to go. And Bob would kind of like, tell her, you know, don't be going there by yourself and stuff like that. Like he started to be concerned about her because this was the time when Bob started talking to his mom and his mom was trying to get him to come to America, right?
Yeah. I mean, do you think he was super concerned or was he, wanting her to be at home, being a good housewife so he can be out there doing his own? I know they weren't married, but so he can be out there kicking it.
I think that was the start. I think yeah, that was the start of him showing like he was controlling her.
Mm-hmm.
She was looking at it like in the beginning, like, oh, he's really concerned about my well-being, da 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 da. He
Yeah.
knows I have a kid. Like she was making like an excuse for it all. Uh Shantae said it was more possessive to me. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like it was the beginning of him trying to control how he wanted her to move.
Yeah, the way I read it, like, don't get me wrong, I do believe that there was some concern, but
Mm-hmm.
culturally, it was possessive. It was a respectful, if that even makes fucking sense. It was a respectful kind of possessive.
Right.
Because whether he
Mm-hmm.
was going to be in the street doing his dirt or not, that's the general vibe when those type of men really care about you.
Mm.
Yeah.
I want you to get around there and start out. Start out.
Sit down somewhere.
Right. Sit down, girl.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but I guess he knew what he was doing because he didn't make her feel that way. She felt like it was really out of love and protection. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Well,
let's
I mean, I feel like yes, she felt that way, but at the same time, I'll be thinking like, because I had my first kid at 18,
mm,
mm-hmm.
and I'll just be thinking like some of that shit is like, did I think that because I wanted to be in love because I'm a mom and I have to be more mature and I need to have that outward aesthetic and have that genuine family, or did
mm,
I really feel loved? So I'm kind of like on a like little limbo there as far as whether or not it was that teenage puppy love and wanting that family because she was a young mom,
Mm-hmm.
or whether or not she, I mean, she was being naive. I don't know.
I think
yeah,
she was being naive and she thought that that's how love was. She never was, from what she was making it seem like she never was in love before. So
Yeah, and what love will look like for her based upon, your mom abandoning you, your dad abandoning you, and you being left with your aunt. You know what I mean? What love would look like and feel like is a little different underneath of those circumstances.
exactly.
mm,
Yeah. So
mm,
I don't think she really knew, but that she was just feeling as if it was love. She didn't have no clue that this wasn't what it really was. I mean, I think to some degree from what she was explaining in the book that she was basically hinting that, that was the way that she felt like Bob expressed love to her.
yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that was her first relationship because whoever was that sharing her oldest daughter's dad, she didn't. It didn't seem like it was just some big love affair or something like that. She didn't describe it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
promise you. See, if you, when you think of Rita Marley and her children,
Yeah.
right? For one, you completely forget she has an older child that is not biologically Bob's, right? Most
Right.
people don't
Mm.
really know that, right? And then
Mhm.
when you think of Rita Marley, the only person you think of her being with, even till this day,
To this
considering
day.
Bob passed away, before 3 years before I was even born, is is
Mhm.
is Bob Marley. Like, you don't think of Rita with anyone else, and you understand, whether you know it or not, that all of her kids are Mr. Marley's.
Mm.
Mhm.
Oh
Yep.
well. Mm.
Yeah, and I can't wait till we get to that part because I can't believe it. But let's talk about the real first red flag of this relationship in the beginning of it started. So on page 24, this is when I marked on my notes. This was the first big red flag. So after the whole thing with her experiencing the Jamaican dance hall, and Bob started telling her, be careful, be conscious, don't go there by yourself, etc., etc. She said, um in the what is this, the first paragraph, no, second paragraph, I was now growing up to be what was called then a nice young lady. The young man I still knew as Robbie, which was Bob, had other girls in his life, girls with whom he had intimate relationships. I knew that he was not a saint, but he kept them away from me out of respect. The
Ooh.
first time we kissed, we actually had a real date. He took me to the Ambassador, our local Trench Town theater, which offered concerts and sometimes live performances as well as movies. The Ambassador was where the people went, where parents took their children, boys meet girls, boyfriend and girlfriends, etc. But dating was not on Auntie's list. So I couldn't simply say to Bob, okay, I like to go to the movies with you. I had to make up some story about a special rehearsal. Since she didn't mind me going to rehearsals because she knew and respected the fact that I had that mission, that I was trying to do something. Of course, she said okay, but she couldn't help adding, be back by 8 or 9. So that was the first red flag. So she already knew prior to them getting, deeper into their relationship that he was already out with a whole bunch of other women besides her. He was in other relationships.
I think that's a common understanding um,
Yeah,
within that lifestyle. That's the best way I could think to say it.
yeah, it does seem like it was like expected, but he respected her and he wasn't gonna sleep with her, so she was the respectable girl.
Mm.
While he was out here sleeping with the sluts.
But I mean, she already had a kid, so I mean,
Well, that doesn't necessarily. I mean, it was the '60s and '70s. That
Yeah,
probably
and
give you a.
it kind of held her to a higher standard, though. It held her to a standard like she's a mom, right?
right, right,
And Bob Marley had a great respect for his mother, and the upbringings of the two women are eerily similar. So I think like it was like Shaniqua said, it was she is the respectable woman, and being a mom is a big deal. Like being a good mom was a very important factor to Robert Nesta Marley.
yeah,
Yeah, I think he really did hold her as a mother up on a high pedestal.
yeah. I could see that happening as well. Um, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. We had to see as we keep going through the whole thing because it's just some things that she started saying afterwards that I was like, why is she still talking to him at this point? Because you already know that he has other relationships and everything like that. And not trying to be funny. Sometimes people, when you are in like music and stuff like that, music has a eerie way of connecting people. Um, where a lot of them create this love affair with each other because of the music and how it makes them feel when and I think that he was using that to some degree with her because he really knew that she could sing really good and they would always be practicing together and that right there was the connector in my mind for them. But you all play on these emotions when you're trying to come up with these songs, whether it's love songs or whatever, heartbreak, whatever the case is, it kind of strings people together out of the blue. And I think that was really what it was. I don't really think if they didn't have the music, um then if they were just like met out in the streets or something, I don't even think that they would have had a connection. To me, it was just that music thing. Once the music started to get more involved, as we started to see throughout the chapters for Marley, for Bob, because he started to venture off from her, like because she wasn't going everywhere he was going at one point in time.
Yeah, I mean, music definitely probably got them together. I think what held them together and made them stay married was their Rastafarian culture. She was really into it, so divorce was definitely not a thing. So
Yeah, well, let's get into that because that is kind of like the next thing to her thing. I do have when they first got their big break and when Bob started mistreating her really bad. So on page 26, the note that I wrote down was that Bob got a big break. So soon after they started doing more of the concerts, um with the Wailers, the Solettes with the Wailers. uh Delroy, who was the well, okay, soon a big stage show was playing at the Ward Theater, and Scratch was to be on it, and he was walking on his head. He couldn't believe that this was happening to him, that his dream, which he kept quiet, was happening. The Wailers, the Solettes, Delroy Wilson, and the Paragons, all of Studio One's best known artists, were performing, and Scratch was to be the opening act. Now Scratch ended up getting his big break with a song that he did, and that is what they started to tour off of his big hit. Okay, so that's how this whole um the Jamaican Motown got together to be able to perform for Scratch. So they said, and that's when they went on stage first. And as backup, we followed him. Scratch started his song. Uh may say okay, y'all know I'm about to mess it up. Okay, may say me one roast duck. That was the name of the song. And there we were on the stage echoing the same thing. And it was like a comedy. Scratch was that kind of person anyway, a real comedy. He wore a lot of glass and things on himself. And he went on singing. The audience started to throw things, not stones, luckily, but paper cups. Paper cups rained into the stage, and then bottles. And so they didn't like him performing on stage. They started like how we would boo. They was
Yeah,
throwing bottles and stuff for him. They like, how was his song so popular, but they didn't like his performance?
girl, I don't know, but she said after that, that put them dreams on hold for a minute.
Girl, they weren't going nowhere. They weren't going
Girl,
nowhere. They had that big opportunity, but he sucked as an entertainer, from what I understood. Like it didn't help. It didn't help the umbrella of the so-called Motown Jamaicans, right? But he did win a Grammy.
yeah,
So
but she said that was much later.
it
So
was much later, but he eventually won that Grammy. But they had to go back to the drawing board with him. But then afterwards, it was this one situation that came up between Bob and Rita, on page 27. So he said, when Mr. Taddy come home in the nights, he wake me up to have his dinner. This is when Bob was talking about how he was being mistreated by the stepdad. So they
right.
had he was staying with, the stepdad and his other children, but when the stepdad would come home, he would make Barb get up in the middle of the night and fix his dinner and stuff like that. He wouldn't make his wife do it. He wouldn't make his other kids do it. He would always have Bob doing everything. He was like the goat, meaning he was the gopher. He had to go and do the cleaning. He had to go out and get errands done and all of that. Like they made him work. I guess because he was staying there. But he said he don't wake his son up no matter what time of morning he comes in. It's Nesta. That's what they call Bob. Wake up, hot up food, hot up me food, and I'll have to serve him his dinner. Be the houseboy. The next morning, Taddy's woman had been mistreating him too, like a little slave boy, Bob said, because she was still carrying a feud over his mother having a baby for Taddy. That night, after we talked about it for a while, he decided to leave Taddy's house. He went to Coxstone, whose first response was, "If you feel it's right, Robbie." But then he must have seen how miserable Bob was and how Bob relied on him, because Bob told me Coxstone just smiled and then said, "Well, Robbie, there's the audition room at the back of the studio. You can use it at night." So Coxstone, Bob started telling Coxstone how he was being mistreated at the place, and that's when Coxstone extended a hand out to Bob to stay in the studio, which in turn made Rita have like a good feeling, like, good. I'm so glad you're out of that situation for a little bit. Now you got some place to stay. But then stuff started happening at the studio that was weird. So I don't know, is this some kind of tale that goes on or some kind of curse or something? Because he started talking about at night, this cat would come in and and he would be hearing all types of sounds from this cat, and it was eerie, and having like some kind of like out of body experience. And he was telling Rita this whole information, and Rita was starting to get concerned that one night she said, they was at the studio, it was kind of late, and he was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and walk you home. And she didn't want him to walk back to the studio through Trenchtown by himself. So she was like, well, no, I'm just gonna stay. I'm just gonna stay with you tonight. But let's go home so I could tell my auntie, right? I think that's what I remember. So they walked to her auntie's house.
No, he was walking her home.
He was walking her on, right?
And she tried to, it was late at night, and she would decided she was gonna let him sneak into the house and sleep.
Oh, that's right. She was gonna try to let him sneak in to stay with her because
But
of this whole thing about this cat. But she knew that her auntie wasn't gonna have it.
Auntie didn't play that. Auntie caught her ass too.
She
Auntie said,
sure
I
did.
had now. No, no,
He
no.
tried to hide up under the bed that when she opened up the door. Like, it's always something. Every time you trying to sneak to do something, that's when the parents always be doing something. They come in. Like she said, my auntie don't never come back in once I say goodnight, I'm going to bed. She never come back in. But this particular time, she decided to make a U-turn.
Auntie had a feeling that night. She said, I had now. I heard something in here.
Girl.
Woo!
So she got busted. He kicked her out. And she said, you kick him out, I'm gonna go back with him. Because I
Yeah.
recall her going back
Rita
to,
was like, if he can't stay here, then I'm out.
yeah. But she was trying to tell Rita about this crazy shit that was going on up
Trying
at
to
the,
tell Auntie. Yeah.
yeah, that there was something fishy going on. So they
Right.
go back to Coxstone's Studio One in the back in the audition room. They're laying down, they're just conversating, and then something happens with this damn cat. He said, and they're whispering, like, you hear that? He said, this what
Mhm.
I was telling you about. And she was like, yeah. And then she started having some kind of convulsion or out of body experience that he had to call for the janitor to come in and help her. Like, there was something happened with her
Girl.
body.
I don't
What
know if she started having a seizure, but that would have scared me. I'd been like, oh, hell no. You can go
that
back
was
home, girlfriend. you, I don't know what the hell going on here now. You got to go.
girl,
Go
it was
back to
so
Auntie.
scary. Yeah, that was real scary. And stuff didn't seem right. And that's when she said that she was gonna be pleading with her auntie to let him stay back at the place. And eventually that's what ended up happening. She went back to the auntie and she was like, telling her what ended up happening and to please let him stay or whatever. And eventually the auntie was like, okay, he can stay. Okay, which was cool. But then she started treating him like a no gooder, like he was staying at the stepdad's house. That's what I got from it. Like she started picking on him and saying, he was
What's he go?
basically a no gooder. He wasn't bringing no money to the house and stuff like that. Like none of that. And he started to just be in that mindset of the same, like he's not gonna get out of this situation, or he's not gonna have a nice situation of what he was hoping for. It
All
seemed
right.
like, everything just kept going wrong for him. So,
Woo, it was definitely a lot of obstacles that they had trying to get this dream off the ground.
yeah. I feel like, to some degree, and I would be too as a parent, that the auntie looked at him and he was skeptical, like he was a no gooder, like he would never amount to anything. And that's when she started warning her, Rita, don't be in my house having sex, and you're gonna end up having more babies with him, and you can barely take care of yourself and the one that you got. Like, that's when she really started laying on Rita very hard. Um which was crazy. I was trying to bring up some pictures, you guys, because they do got pictures in this book, but I don't know why it's not allowing me to bring it up. Let me see here. I'm gonna try to do it. But on page 34, this is when they start talking about Bob and Rita getting married and why. So let me read this passage to y'all. They said that this was serious Bob, the moral Bob I admire. He made me want to try by trusting my musical instincts and making me responsible for harmonies, but demanding perfection. And so we were there rehearsing in this little cove, and oh, we were suddenly so taken away and looking into each other's eyes and singing. And then we put our mouths to each other's. We were still singing as if we were giving oxygen to each other, giving each other mouth to mouth resuscitation. And
Oh.
I'm thinking, is this love? And the song with that title hadn't even been written yet. Is this love? And then we're kissing and laughing and looking into each other's eyes. And I'm thinking, wow, this is magic. This is magic. I'm in love with this guy. I love him. We love each other. We got married on impulse because Bob's mother had sent for him. Unlike a lot of girls, I hadn't been dreaming of being married at that age. It wasn't something I had in mind. I never thought about my wedding day. To begin with, we didn't have anything to be married on. And in those days in Jamaica, you couldn't wake up one day and want to marry. You had to plan and you had to save money for it. But Sedalia Malcolm Marley, which was Bob Marley's mom, married Edward Booker, an American. Having gotten her own legal papers, she could now sponsor her son. So Bob had to immigrate, but he said he wouldn't unless I eventually went with him. Though we were all in love, we hadn't talked about getting married until this happened. Bob thought that if we weren't married before he left, I would find another boyfriend. I don't know if that would have happened, maybe, but he wouldn't allow it to happen. And by then, he was my straight boyfriend, as we say in Jamaica. I was neither seeing nor thinking about another man. He was my number one. Plus, Plus, he was now getting some recognition. He was waiting for his muse. His music was playing on the radio. We both thought we were made for each other. So basically, it didn't seem like he wanted to marry her because he was in love. He wanted to marry her because he didn't want her to find somebody else.
Yep, that's what it was always like for him. It seemed like is that he was always trying to just make sure he could have as many people as he wanted to, but he did not want her doing nothing.
He didn't want her doing a damn thing. I was like, damn, cold blooded. He was barking and everything. He just did not want her to venture off to experience life. He knew that she was naive. He knew that she was inexperienced as far as being out. She said she never left Trenchtown, never before now. You know what I'm saying? So this whole thing to me just was like another setup for him to control her the way, and I'm picturing it as to be in control of her life the way that his life had been in control, like other people were in control of his life prior to.
That too, and then it can also be argued that because it is about Marley and he can have any woman that he wants, obviously, right? Because he technically was already kind of doing that. That
Hmm.
he held this woman Rita to an extremely high standard, and that meant a lot.
Mm.
So it's a double-edged sword for sure. Does not take away from that man being the biggest hoe I know, next to my father. But yeah, it's a weird ass understanding, but
Mm.
it's an understanding that meant something nonetheless. Because you know you're valued, and that I mean you would be hard set to find a Jamaican man that was monogamous.
Yeah, I guess. I
So it's
mean,
kind of like if I'm going to deal with this no matter what, I should at least deal with it with the men that I think is worth dealing with it for. You get what I'm saying? It's
right,
weird,
right.
but it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. And that kind of threw me back because I just And I know there's differences amongst different cultures and stuff like that. How you're, because I'm getting from you, Shantae, that that's how Jamaican men are, like, you might be part of the pack. You may be the main one, but you're not the only one. And of course, they do that stuff here in America too. You know what I'm saying? But to me, I just looked at it like, well, I don't feel like she's really in love with him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he took a liking to her child. Like, I think he was pulling her strings along the way. Like, he was worried about her being out late. You got a daughter. You need to go back home and take care of her. Like, he was being a gentleman and being concerned and being controlling. Like, he
I
didn't.
do think he genuinely did love her.
I think eventually he did. Yes.
I think he genuinely did, and as weird as it sounds, and as crazy as it was explained, um, I think that's also part of the reason why he did ultimately want to marry her, because he knew, because she is a good, respectable, wholesome, in air quotes, right? Because she did have a child already. She's a wholesome, respectable woman, and with the life he was living, he probably wasn't going to come across that again. Anybody else would be a groupie and want him for his money.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and that's not just, I was gonna say that's musicians, but that's men, period. Right. They always
Yeah.
want a nice, respectable woman at home. Then they be out hoeing around like it ain't no tomorrow. Diddy
Yeah.
and Kim was a perfect, never mind. Ooh,
Ooh.
ooh. Well, we have to say that for
Sidebar
the
note.
next live, girl.
Look,
I was just
sidebar
trying to give
note.
a real life example. That's all I was right. And you see, and unfortunately, it was to Kim wound up passing away, and Diddy comes out with all of these regrets, right? So
Right.
because of the spiritual aspect associated with Bob Marley, which I'm sure we'll get to throughout the book, because Rita picks up on it as well.
Mm-hmm.
He was not willing to jeopardize that. So yes, it was love, but it was also possessed. Like, it's possessive loving is a real thing, and it is the normal way to love to me, because for me, I'm a possessive lover. I'm not sharing my man. I don't give a damn, right?
Right.
So that by default, that makes me a possessive lover, but it's a curse and a blessing because of what we're reading about right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And sidebar, can you readers? Okay, maybe that's what we'll call them. Can you readers? I don't know. We gotta find a name. I gotta find something, y'all. I
Just
swear to
keep
God.
throwing something out there to stick, girl.
Now the stick, okay. We are going live today at 4:15 on Six's Word on the Curb. We got much to discuss about, stuff that's going on with these celebrities. So y'all can always join us over there on Six's Word on the Curb YouTube and in the private group as well for the Curbsters. All right, so now we're up to chapter 3. And my note tells me that this is where Rita was introduced to the Rastafarian by Bob. Okay. So Bob started talking about Rastafarians to her and how their lifestyle is. He was introducing her to kind of like not eat pork and watch certain types of food, how they were going to be meditating and praying and everything like that. And she was really skeptical about this whole thing. Just to give you a little insight to how it started, let me just read a little inserts from this here. Okay. During the time I was getting to know Bob, he'd been exposing me to the faith of Rastafari, which began in early 20th century with Marcus Garvey, a Jamaican who was also from St. Anne. Garvey went to New York, where he founded the Universal Negro Improvement Association to encourage Black pride and advocate the reparations of Black people to Africa. Some Jamaicans paid particular attention to Garvey's prophecy that an African king would deliver us from our situation as colonized people, and they came to believe the Ethiopian ruler, Emperor Haile Selassie one.
Holly Selassie the first.
Select the first, yep, to have been that person. And Celeste's original name was Ross Tafari. That's kind of cool. I was like, oh, look at them, how they, came up with the name Rastafarian. That was really something. So that's how he introduced them to there. And then they started to say stuff like the way that he wanted her to live. So let me just skip down to that part, okay? Before the 60s, no one outside Jamaica knew much about Rastas. Within Jamaica, ordinary citizens viewed them as black heart men who lived in the gully and were always smoking ganja, an East Indian word for marijuana. People said they would steal your children away. They didn't cut their hair or straighten it, instead, letting it grow naturally into locks or dreadlocks. The word dread, now used in many ways, has its origins in the Rastafari challenge to Jamaican colonial authority. Which of us is dreadful? In Jamaica, Rasta was the last thing you wanted your children to be involved with. People said it turned his followers worthless. That besides smoking ganja, Rastas didn't eat properly, wash their hair, or brush their teeth. Only the worst things were said about them. No one mentioned the Rasta message of peace and love and understanding and justice, its refusal of pain and abuse, although they silently agreed with its message of black pride. Interesting. And then they go on to talk about how for black people in the 60s was a time of consciousness raising. People were considered not only black as beautiful but black power. These ideas reached us too. At one time we were all carving small black fists from wood and selling them at the record shop. People brought them to wear around their necks. For one album cover, the Wailers posed for photographs holding toy guns and wearing the berets usually associated with the Black Panthers. So this kind of crossed over into their music as well. It wasn't that they were just taking the time to just, be indulged into the Rastafarian lifestyle, but they were trying to implement it within the music and stuff to let people know that black is beautiful, black is powerful, and our music is going to be recognized as that as well. That's what I took from it. Say you?
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. Okay. And I see we got some hey, Sarah came in and Sharon, aka Sharon came in. But they did say that Sharon said she got behind, honey. She gotta catch up. Catch up with the must of Sharon, so you can get with us for chapter 6. All right. So in this chapter, that's when they started talking about how she really got involved into the Rastafarian lifestyle. And when Bob was living out of town with his mom, he would, they would write letters to each other like every day. Every day they were writing letters, and she was getting so involved in the Rastafarian lifestyle. But then when she would say stuff to him in a letter, he would be telling her, well, don't be staying out late and make sure you taking care of the kids. Like he would never respond to how much she started to really take hold to the Rastafarian life. It was always something about him saying to her, the kids, and don't be going to the parties and staying out late and this, that, and the third. Like he really never took notice that
Yeah,
she
that
was,
possessive bullshit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I was like, he still at this point, they didn't got married and everything, and he still is not taking into consideration what she is doing per se with what he suggested that should be.
Yeah.
And
You know,
it's definitely weird. And then I think one thing that shouldn't matter, but ultimately does in regards to like how a lot of us behave, we have to
mhm.
keep in mind how old they were. They are still super young.
Yeah, I think they were what, like 20? Well, I know
Yeah.
Rita was 20. Yeah, she was like 20 at
Like
this
they're
time.
really young. Because remember, he died 30.
36, I think.
Right,
36.
he was 36 when he died.
Right.
So they're really really young during this time. It's kind of it shouldn't matter considering they're married and shit. But when you a certain age, you're stupid as hell.
Yeah, you be in love. You be in love.
And we can be naive as fuck too.
Yeah. Being all in love, child. All in love. Okay. All right. So all right. So then she started having issues, and I'm talking about Rita, started having more issues now with when Bob left for Delaware. So at one particular time, after Bob left for Delaware, he joined the police force in Jamaica. Police are rotated among parishes. So he used to spend most of his time living in a police lodging and come home on the holidays and weekend. He would arrive in his uniform, the talk of the town, because Uncle
No, she
Wesley.
talking about her
She talking about her
brother
brother.
there.
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
She talking about her brother. I keep forgetting. She talking about her brother, but her brother was starting to make her living at home with the auntie holy hell too, because he got into her ass at one particular time, telling her that you over here with this dude that's not doing nothing, and you not doing nothing either. Basically, you need to be
Oh,
utilizing, because I think she was going to school at one point in time, or she was a nurse, and he was like, "You're sitting up here just doing this music. It's not bringing no money in, and you got this dude living in the house. He's a bum. You a bum." Basically, both of y'all bums. Y'all sitting over here. And at this time, I think, was she pregnant with her first child with Bob at this time? And he,
girl, I don't
yeah.
even
So she was pregnant with Bob's first child. And the her brother was like, both of y'all some bums, and y'all over here recreating, and y'all not contributing to the household. And you need to be doing something, like, you a nurse. Why don't you take up nursing? Because the singing is not working. That's what he was
know.
saying.
Oh, well. So
And
shady.
he started laying into her. And basically that's what the auntie was saying, because the auntie started seeing that this was not working for her either. Like, it was like, you trying to change. You don't want to eat my food. You living in my house. You don't want to eat pork. You
Baby,
changing
when
the
she
way.
didn't want to eat that damn pork, woo,
Girl, that
Auntie went
auntie
up.
mad. That auntie was mad as hell. Okay, she was like, "Wait a minute, you living in my house free? You got your first baby. Now you pregnant with another one. Y'all over here doing this music thing, and you ain't bringing no money. And then you got the audacity to not want to eat my food."
Girl, you got some damn nerve, Rita.
Was like,
Girl.
"Rita, you done got your whole head in a twirl." So she started, telling, like, how the talk of the town is, and people know that Rita's starting to change and get involved in this Rastafarian lifestyle, and they're telling, oh, now she's about to, do all of this Rastafarian stuff. She not about to be clean, or brushing her teeth, and her hair about to be looking a whole mess. Like, they literally was talking about her around the town. They would ask her auntie and stuff. And this is what I thought was so funny. They asked her auntie, "Oh, how's Rita?" And the auntie would be like, "Oh, it's not good." Rita going down, down, down. You heard me? Like, it was literally like she was giving them the update. When Rita started doing a little bit better with the music and stuff like that, because Bob was doing better in music. Then it was like, when people would ask, "Oh, Rita, she's still not the best, but she doing something." That's what it
Yeah.
started being. So it was like she was giving the whole time a whole update about what they were doing and how it was panning out for them. And I thought that was hilarious. Like, you just gonna spread the word for them, right? You're not gonna do it. Just let them be they would be, and let them do what they gonna do. You gonna tell the whole world, right?
Yeah, she didn't parlay, but T was definitely concerned about what people thought, which I mean it's a cultural thing.
Well, honey, it was. And Rita was getting very like into the Rastafarian lifestyle. So I guess at one particular time, um, when she started getting to start bicycling, remember she was riding a bike and stuff to go deliver the music to people who were ordering them. And she started to get it all into the who was what was the Rastafarian's name again? The Rastafarian. We said the name earlier, but he was coming to town. So
Holly Selassie.
Selassie, thank you, was coming to town. So Selassie was coming to town. She had heard that he was coming, right? And she was just talking about wanting to go. And at one particular part, now let me read to you this part because I thought this was interesting. Cage was part of history. So we were living at Auntie's house on Greenwich Park Road, where she had added on a room for us. Because at this time she's pregnant with Bob's first child. She has her daughter from a previous relationship, and they're all living with the auntie, right? So our bedroom faced the road. So in the daytime, Bob and I curtained off part of it and made the front into a little shop where we sold our 45 RPM, which is dub plates. In those days, everything was on a 7-inch vinyl recording. Some days we sell three, some six, sometimes as more as 25 out of the cashier's booth, a little cage we constructed. I never imagined that the cage as part of history, but there are two replicas of it now. One at the Bob Marley Museum in Kingston and the other at the Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. I had no idea that they had that part of history, you guys, like the what they call the cage. Had
Mm,
y'all ever heard of it?
no, I definitely had not. But that's
Interesting.
definitely interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if I could pull up some stuff at another time and see if we can take a look to see what it was. I didn't even know they had, to be honest, I didn't know they had a Bob Marley museum. So that's interesting. But anyway, she got more involved into it, and Celeste had was coming to town, and she just was like praying to herself, like, God, give me a sign if this is supposed to be real, because I in some part of the book she was telling an exact and this is not the exact wording of what she was saying, but that she was basically saying, give me a sign that he is real, that he is part of God, that he is supposed to be our leader. Okay.
Mm,
So she went, she met him, and she said that he wasn't paying her no mind. And she was still asking for the sign. And then all of a sudden he looked her way and he waved. And whatever that was on her hand, on Celeste's hand, is what gave her the, oh my God, this is him. It was something written on his hand or something she saw
it
that
was like
connected,
a black
some black
mark or
thing.
some sort.
Uh-huh. But that was the calling for her. That was what she needed to know, that he was the real person. And so she really got involved. She started, letting her hair grow out and everything. And then when Bob eventually came back home, he was like, "What's up with your hair?" Like she was like, I was so confused because you were requesting that she learn about the Rastafarian life. And now you questioning how she looks when she comes back home. Like that was so strange to me. I was just like, okay, are you not keeping in mind what you're asking her to do? You asking her to make sacrifices for you, and then you're not even acknowledging the change. Like instead of him saying, "Oh, look, you're getting more involved," like she was writing him every day, so it wasn't like he didn't know. That was so strange to me. It's like, you come back home and you like, what you do to your hair?
Mm,
That was cold blooded. But anyway, they started getting more music play. And then eventually he was able to pick up, once he ended up getting his contract, um, pick up him and the family, and they were moving to, going out on the road and supposed to be moving to a certain part of town and stuff like that. And eventually they wanted, because her select group members ended up moving to New York. And I know they went down there, they visited them, and like he kind like one of her soulmate members like got her real snazzy and dressed up in a miniskirt, did her hair and makeup and stuff like that. And Bob was really so into it when he saw her, which was better response than what he got when he came home and she was really Rastafarian, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that threw me back. But then that's when the physical fight started to occur between them.
ooh,
Um,
yeah.
Child, and I was like, what in the
They got
hell?
the tussling up in there.
Yeah. So this was on page 61. And it said, but I understood his position, and we decided to find a room with a shop, a room like ours at Auntie's house. That was a shop by day and a bedroom at night, because they wanted to move away from Auntie's house because he felt like he couldn't be the man of the house. Because Auntie was so into, he's still not doing nothing. All y'all doing is having babies type of thing. So they wanted to try to get their own place. Besides, though Bob thought having two daughters was great because she found out she had a daughter, with Bob, but he really wanted a son, just like most Jamaican men do, it seems to me. So, with two babies and a prospect of another one soon, hint, hint, we began looking all over. And though it wasn't easy, we eventually found a room off of the Waltham Park Road with a shop front that adjoined it. And we could sell our records. It's amazing to me to look back at the person I was then. It's only now that I realize how young and inexperienced I was, going through all these changes and responsibilities and dealing with them quite normally. I'm surprised I didn't wake up one morning and run away from it all. But things began to get a little complicated. The landlady found out who I was, and then that Viola Britton was my aunt, and soon considered it her duty to report every action that took place in our rooms.
Mhm.
Sometimes Bob and I actually got into physical fights, although it was like we were children, not in a kill dead fight, but a love fight, the one you get into in order to make up. And I would fight. I wasn't going to take a blow. I was going to hit back. You hit me, I'm going to hit you. I think Bob respected me for that, but though I was always the first to scratch, I start crying in a minute. And then because he didn't like to see me cry, he would say, "Hey, that's not how we're supposed to live. I'm sorry." Or "You made me do it," and things like that. And he would always make up before the night was over. I never let Auntie know, but she would look at me sometimes and say, you had a fight last night? I could tell. Why your face look like that? What happened to your hand there? And one night, Bob and I had a fight because dinner was late. I was late. It was late because we didn't have a kitchen. So at this point, y'all, they had moved to, was this the part where they moved to his old family home? That was
No,
like,
they had
okay.
found a room or a shop somewhere still in Trenchtown, I believe.
I thought this was the one where she was cooking out in the front doorway.
That wasn't when they moved yet. They ain't moved out to his peoples because she didn't have the children with her.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I'm jumping ahead then. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
they said that I had to do the cooking on the ground in the doorway every morning and evening. I had to catch the coal fire, fan it until it lit, then wait for it to burn properly, which was hardly easy with one small baby not even sitting up yet and another still around my feet. The night we fought about the late dinner, Auntie's watchman got right on the job. As soon as she heard Auntie came for me, she actually wanted to move me out back home. And this was really a turn off for Bob. Am I not man enough to control my house? He shouted. Why
Ooh.
can't I have a quarrel with my wife? So at this time, he started getting pissed off with the damn Auntie, because now you nosy hoe, you over here. You over here in our own house. We ain't even in your house no more. And here you come.
Well, if I see my niece was getting her ass whooped, I'm gonna go over there and see what's up too now.
Yeah, so I mean, I do understand that part, but it's just like
I
now you
mean,
got
well,
people reporting on what they doing in their own personal boudoir. Like what?
yeah, that wasn't right though. She got a damn watchman.
Girl, yes. But then it gets to like the final part, and then we can wrap this up because then we'll be at the end of chapter 5, you guys. But after all of that back and forth and stuff, eventually they did move into Bob's old family home, which was hours away, and she didn't take the kids with her. The auntie was like, "Okay, you could leave us here," but she was pregnant with Bob's second child, which was her third. And this place, he told her, he said, this place doesn't have electricity. It's no heat, no nothing
Oh,
or
water.
whatever. And she was like, okay, I'm cool with it. I'm gonna do it. And they go up there, and she just didn't expect it to be exactly like it was. But they didn't have no lights, and they didn't have a toilet, and they didn't have a kitchen. So it was like
A
she
room.
just a shack room. She said, but everybody there was super friendly. They always said good morning to her. They called her the a queen. You know what I'm saying? Queen Nesta, or whatever. But they always would say good morning to her. And his family that was there was really took a liking to her. They really liked her, and they helped her out with a lot of stuff. Whatever she needed, they was willing to help her. But then there started to be stuff going on with her and Bob, and she started threatening to leave him because of his flirt team. Okay, let's see if I can get to it. This was on page 73 in the book. And this was back then, all the magazine stories I'd read as a girl had said that when you got married, it was understood that you were going to be married for life. You were going to be devoted. Even though my mother and father had split up, Auntie had divorced Mr. Britton, and Sedalia Booker had her trials. I was sure, maybe because I was so young, that my relationship with Bob would last. True, I would sometimes make arguments, usually about his flirting with other women, sometimes really just to pick a fight or even threaten him. I think I'm going to live somewhere else and stay away from you. But then I would start to cry. When we got to New York, though, a new element was added because it was the record company's recommendation that you shouldn't let your fans know you were married, and that's true. They feel that you're more valuable if you are accessible in the music industry. So that is
Child.
one of the reasons why a lot of people don't let people know that they're married if they're in the entertainment business. So, basically the record label was trying to make it seem like Bob was an available man. Okay. She said, how could you be a devoted husband and sell records? And this is what the record company is saying. I didn't know this until I read in a newspaper interview that Bob, we hear you're married. Is that true? You're married to Rita? And his answer was, oh no, she's my sister. I waited until the next time we were alone to question him about that. That night, we were sitting in the living room looking out at the lights of New York. I had a newspaper on the table ready. I went over to him and I put it in his hand. Oh, I saw that, he said. He didn't seem interested. Maybe he was thinking about something else. Yes, but what does it mean? Why would you tell the press we're not married? Oh, that's just show business, he said. But then who wants to expose you? You're mine. I must not have looked satisfied because he stood up and took my hand and said, listen, man, he said, just cool. That was that was his favorite expression, just cool. Because look at this, he went on, let me show you something. And he pulled me to him until we were facing each other quite close, almost enough to kiss. We love to kiss. Kissing was one of our main functions. So I said to myself, he's getting ready to kiss me now. And there I go, there I go, there I go. But basically, he was just trying to coax her into saying, hey, it's okay. You're mine. You're not going nowhere. This is just show business work. We don't need to even have this discussion.
Child, he knew how to run that damn game. Now
Did
didn't
he?
Bob? Bob knew how. He say this is the circle, and the only people in this circle is me, you, and the kids. So no matter what happens, don't
Mm-hmm.
you worry. You see me with another woman, don't you worry about
Don't you worry about a thing.
it.
Whatever goes on in this circle, this is what your concern is, ma'am. Please don't step outside of this circle.
You
Okay.
hear me? Don't you step your ass out there. You're gonna be disappointed, girl.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Child. Bob Marley is a mess,
He
honey.
was something else, girl. Yeah.
He was. I was like, OMG, Bob, what is going on? But there you go. That was the chapters 1 through 5, you guys. So make sure you start chapter 6 We're gonna need to read the next 5 chapters, and we'll be going live next week, this coming week Sunday, at 3 o'clock again, so that we can finish having a conversation about the book. What you think about it so far, Sean?
I like the book. It's interesting. It's drawing me in more because at first I was like, "Oh, well,"
Girl,
but
you know me and my 10-minute rule, honey. Girl, I only
oh
get
no,
stuff.
you can't use the 10-minute rule on no doggone book.
Girl,
Hey,
look, let me tell you
mama,
something. Hey, mama, you got to give me something to hold on to get. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to pique my interest real quickly in the beginning of a book. So this was challenging for me to push through these 5 chapters in the beginning. But then, like you said, when I got to chapter, 4 or 5 ish, it
it
started
drew
to pick
me
up.
in. But
Yeah.
that's when they actually grew up and you hear more about their relationship. Because hearing about her upbringing, it did lay the ground right work for the story. But I was like, girl, where the tea? Pour it up, Rita.
Pour it out. Pour it out.
Girl, pour it up, pour it up.
Girl, well, I'm curious to see what the next couple of chapters take us through,
Mhm.
and so we could talk about that on the next one, honey. This was a mess because at this point in time, things were getting bad for them. They
Mhm.
got released from that one contract that they were living back poor again, trying to find another contract, hoping it would come through. So,
Right.
the last part of it was he was staying in some basement, and he felt like a prisoner because all the rest of the group mates of the Wellers, they were fornicating, they were drinking and eating pork and stuff, and he was living this Rastafarian lifestyle. It wasn't for him, so he stayed in the basement to himself. When one day he runs into a man, and the man started, he was like, who's this Bob Marley? Bob Marley. I know a Marley, you know what I'm saying? And so they ended up showing him to Bob, and it was Rita's father. So, he
Mhm.
met Rita's father for the first time. They started to connect with each other and started, he started taking them out and stuff. He was so happy to finally get out of that basement because he was just like, this wasn't it. And that's really kind of hit home with Rita. Rita was really happy that he was able to meet her father and that they ended up getting a close relationship and stuff like that. But they didn't have a signed contract. It was one brewing up after they got released from the other contract. So now it's back at square one all over again, and they don't know how long it's going to take before a new contract comes along, and it's starting to have more hard times for them. So I don't know. We get to see what happens in the next chapters because that's what happened at the end of chapter 5, right?
Yes, we shall see, girlfriend.
Absolutely. All right. Anybody got anything else they want to add to it before we get on out of here?
No, nothing for me.
All right, perfect. You guys, we finna get set up so we can go live on Six's Word on the Curve so we can talk about some stuff over there. So you can head on over either to YouTube, and if you're a Curbster, I see you in a private Facebook group. And as always, I want to thank everybody for joining us in with this live conversation of the first 5 chapters of No Woman, No Cry by Rita Marley. And we will see you next Sunday to discuss the next 5 chapters. Thanks to the co-hosts, Michelle Shante and Sean the Gossip, for joining us in on this conversation.
Yes. See
Yes.
y'all
And
later.
see y'all later. Peace out.